We first started the Ms. Foundation in the complete delusion. It just became obvious that there needed to be a big, multiracial, multi-issue, national women's foundation. And so we set out to try to make that happen. The first time I remember feeling profoundly moved, I went to cover a hearing in the late 60s in which women were standing up in a church basement downtown and talking about having a then illegal abortion. This was before the Supreme Court decision. And they would just stand up and tell what it was like to go into an illegal network, to endanger themselves. It was awful. I had had an abortion when I was in my early 20s and never told anyone. And suddenly, from listening to the real stories of real women, I understood that, wait a minute, if 1 in 3 has needed this and chosen this at some time in our lives, why is it life endangering? Why is it illegal? And that was the beginning for me of the unraveling of the whole system that tries to control women as the means of reproduction. The good, big, positive thing is we know we're not crazy. We were told we were going against the family, against religion, against everything. It's very important to know you're not crazy, and that we discovered by sitting in groups of women and telling our stories and discovering that we are not alone. The Ms. Foundation is an on-the-ground group, not a top-down group. And you had been doing that in Connecticut.
When I was doing my work in Connecticut, I was fortunate. I liked working within the legislative body and looking at politics and not getting caught up into political parties, but looking at the small d democratic process of how you get people to lend their voice to issues that are affecting them. And so just like the Ms. Foundation, on a state level, I trusted that women knew the answers to what was ailing their communities, and they just needed to have the supports and the systems in place to make those changes happen. When I had this opportunity to come to the Ms. Foundation, that was actually one of the key reasons that I came, was because I wanted to be able to stay connected to the grassroots. And so having 70 to 100 grantees across the country that are doing work in their communities and then coming together to share their stories meant I wasn't going to ever be too far away from the issues.
Because the first thing you did was to have a listening tour, we felt triumphant. You see, she is totally the right person.
Like you, I understand that I may have great knowledge, but my sisters and brothers on the ground, those that are doing the work, actually have a greater amount of knowledge, and it adds to the story and it adds to what needs to be said and how we need to address those problems and hear what those problems are. And I looked at the map and I identified about 30 cities or towns. And now that I have almost concluded the listening tour, I've been to about 45 cities throughout the country, about 41,000 miles. And it's really been this amazing opportunity to sit down and just listen to people tell their stories and understand that these stories are all intertwined, right? We're such a small world and such a small community, and yet we feel sometimes so far away from each other, but we have shared stories to tell, and we have shared problems to solve, and we can only do that if we take the time and listen to each other. So when I was on the listening tour, I heard 3 very distinct things. People wanted to be part of a national, inclusive, diversified organization that tied all of the issues of their lives together. They wanted to be a part of it. Whatever it happened to be, they wanted to be able to do it. I talked to young women who said, I never got to march for anything. I want to be part of something that respects our own history. I talked to more mature women who said, I want to make sure this legacy stays strong. And then the third thing I heard was that feminism isn't dead. Feminism isn't gone. We just want it to make sure it includes all aspects of our life. This reality around how people were defining feminism, whether it was from the dictionary or whether it was from Beyonce, what was the terminology that really reflected the intertwining of our lives for everybody to be part of it. We've put together this t-shirt and this campaign that talks about the social, economic, and political equality of all genders or all people.
I'm glad you mentioned Beyonce, because I think she helped a lot, actually. When any pop culture representation that says what it really means. Sometimes I have to say, when I'm getting impatient, if somebody really tries, to say, oh, well, you can't be, I say, okay, look, you have a choice. If you're a woman, you can be a masochist or you can be a feminist. Nobody knows what the future brings. It depends what you and I do. I know that. I mean, because I've seen progress, so I have faith in progress.